All right, what is up, guys? The gig is up. I got to play Chrono Odyssey in an exclusive beta test before basically the rest of the world got to play it. So I'm going to give my thoughts. I tried literally every single system in the closed beta that they had available to us. I did tons of questing. I did the PvE, the PvP, the solo dungeons, bounties, gathering, cooking, crafting, all of it, guys. So make sure that you stay tuned on the channel. I'm going to have a lot of videos coming out in the next few days, basically explaining those systems and what I thought of those systems and how they work so that you guys are ready for the beta on the 20th. I will also have a choose your class guide video so that you know a little bit more about the classes, but we're going to talk about that here in a second. This video is going to focus more on my initial thoughts of the game and kind of like the overarching, like, hey, here's the TLDR of all of those videos. And if you feel like you want to explore any of these systems further, there will be a video pertaining to that in the near future being released on my channel. Okay, so initial thoughts on character select and classes. Only 3 of the classes were available in the closed beta for me this time. So there is the swordsman, the ranger, and the berserker available. The other 3 classes that will be available on launch are the paladin, the sorceress, and the assassin. And we will get into those a little bit later as well. I'm going to probably be maining paladin when it comes out, so just be ready for that one. But the 3 classes that you're able to choose from, swordsman's kind of like the warrior from BDO, and the standard hack and slash, like all-arounder overall. It's got the great sword, the sword and shield, and the dual blades. Pretty cool, but I didn't choose that one. The ranger's got the bow, the crossbow, and I think the rapier as well, because I played about an hour or 2 on at least every single class to make sure that I understood how they played, what their skills looked like, etc. But I ended up choosing the berserker, which mainly because they've got the chain blades, the twin axes, and the battle axe, and I thought that was pretty cool. Just so you're aware, guys, the classes are not gender locked. Not at all gender locked. And when you go into character customization, they're going to have like a preset available for you, so you can pick kind of like the close-ish face to what you want. But never fear, there's a ton of customization, like rivaling Black Desert Online levels of customization that you can do with your character. I did not spend a crazy amount of time on this, but like I can see people getting lost in the customization screen menus of this game. It does not leave you wanting. You can literally move just about everything. And for those wondering, yes, there is a boob slider. There is in fact a tab named breasts. And there are 3 sliders, not 1 boob slider, not 2 boob sliders, but 3 booba sliders in the game. There's also a butt slider as well, and a cock slider for those of us who might be either gauge or maybe they want to play somebody that is bulging a little bit in the front. So, hey, you know, it is what it is. So definitely super base Korean devs as usual. I chose a female berserker and I had no regrets. I had a lot of fun with it. Now, when you spawn into the game and you get into this, I want to explain this as kind of a, the atmosphere of this game is kind of like Alien Prometheus. Like if you're a fan of like Alien versus Predator, just like Alien franchise, there's elements of this in the world basically everywhere. It is scary. The world is dark. It is gloomy, and you are like you're like him, capital H Himothy, walking through trying to defeat these epic monsters and stuff, which is literally insane. But the world is really scary. It's dark, and so it's Dark Souls themed alongside Alien is the best way that I can kind of express it. If you love Dark Souls, you're gonna love this, because this is basically Elden Ring, the MMO. Okay, the difficulty level right out the gate, you can and will die during the tutorial if you're not careful. The first boss is kind of a banger. The first boss can be a little bit difficult, especially if you're playing Berserker, is a little bit kind of a hard class. It is the hardest of the 3 in my opinion to pick up and play, but I'll get into that more in my class guide series. After you spawn in, you're thrown into the world, and this is why I say it's a lot like Elden Ring. You spawn in and you essentially have these massive monsters all around you that you are not designed to kill early. Can you kill them? Technically, yes. If you're a god and an absolute Giga Chad, you could do it. But it's kind of like how Elden Ring places Tree Sentinel out in front to teach players that, like, hey, you don't necessarily need to like follow the main story progression of the game. You can go do basically whatever you want. Now, the starting area is going to try to keep you confined, but once they set you free, you can pretty much just do what you want in this game. It is a sandbox through and through. And I walked into a dragon just out of like render distance of like the main story quest. Like anyone could have seen this. You walk up to it and it just, bro, it just destroyed me. It was absolutely crazy. And one of the coolest things is it's also got elements of like Monster Hunter in here, where if you bait other creatures near these monsters, they will actually fight each other. They will engage in combat. There's an ecosystem in this game, a lot like you see in Monster Hunter, but it's also got the feel of, like I said, Elden Ring, where these monsters out in the world are like, yeah, you're not necessarily intended to fight them right now. You can come back when you're a lot stronger, and it's going to be a lot easier of a fight for you, or you can attempt it and try to be a super gamer. Either way, it's a lot of fun. The difficulty is extremely high, though. If you try to basically brute force your way through everything that you find, you're going to have a hard time with that. And I think that Dark Souls fans will really enjoy that overall. As far as the main story goes, this is the most gripping main storyline I've probably actually encountered of the MMOs that I've played. Please bear in mind that my MMO experience involves Black Desert Online, Throne and Liberty, World of Warcraft Classic, Guild Wars 2. Okay, and of those, I did feel that the main story, at least in the early levels, was gripping and engaging enough that I found myself wanting more, wanting to see what happens next so that I can uncover the next mysteries of Saterra. Very, very cool. And I'll be honest with you, normally I don't care about the main story. Most MMORPG players do not care about the main story unless you're playing Final Fantasy, in which case that's primarily the reason you're playing the game, aside from the catgirls. Now, as far as the NPCs go in the game, super engaging. Most of them actually have personality. They are attractive in most cases as well. And they actually have a purpose. They're engaging. As far as the NPCs in town go, this is a critique that I'm going to give the game overall. I think that the NPCs in towns are definitely a little bland. They're not walking around and doing stuff like we see in the world of Black Desert, for example, where you have all of the NPCs seem to be actively engaged in a task of some kind or talking with each other. You can hear commerce in the town and whatnot. Not in Chrono Odyssey. There's just not as much going on here. The NPCs aren't really talking to each other. They're not talking to you for the most part. They're not trying to get your attention. It's not like the Witcher 4 demo that we saw, let's just be honest, where the townsfolk interact with you as you run by, or you can see them actively engaging in something. I think that this is kind of an important part of MMOs in terms of immersion, in order to get players invested in the atmosphere of what's going on around them and help them kind of immerse themselves in the world. So I think that that is a bit of a miss from Chrono Odyssey there. So that's the first con that I will go ahead and give the game. Now let's talk about the thing that everyone wants to know about, the combat. How is the combat in the game? Guys, it's S tier. This is very good combat, especially if you're a Dark Souls fan. It is Dark Souls combat meets you have more abilities than you would in Dark Souls. You have abilities and magic that you can use in addition to your normal just like dodge and then your attack roll that you've got, but like very Dark Souls style combat, which I think a lot of adventurers are going to be super excited about because it feels smooth, it feels clean, and overall the skills do not get tiring. I used them hundreds, if not thousands of times, and continually was discovering new ways to combo and do various things. Just so that we're clear, you have 2 weapons equipped. There are 3 possible weapons on your class. You have 2 of them equipped at any given time. During combat, you will be switching between these weapons. So when you tap Q, you will switch between these weapons in the middle of combat, which is pretty cool because like there's a nice animation for it. It feels pretty swift. I will say that there were a few times where I tapped Q and it switched to the other weapon and then switched back again, which was kind of frustrating. So maybe that's something that they could work on there. But overall, the weapon swapping felt very clean, and it felt like I had to use both weapons basically every single time I engaged. You can't just stay on one weapon for the most part. I did in some of the bosses, I stayed with the twin axes because there was a lot more sustain in my twin axes and I was trying to cheese it a little bit because the bosses are hard, man. What do you want from me? But overall, I have nothing but good things to say about the combat. Is it as smooth as Black Desert Online? No, it is not. So aside from BDO and Lost Ark, specifically, I would say it sits just below those two games in terms of overall combat and immersion. And it's certainly better than any of the tab target MMOs that we see out there. It's better than ESO, which is an action combat, and the other action combat MMOs that we've seen in the genre. Very, very solid. There is some clunkiness to it. So the critiques to the combat I have are, there's like the inertia that you feel when you start moving your character around. There's like that warm up feel. And I think that developers like to include this a lot in games, but it's garbage. Like, players do not like this, especially in the MMO RPG environment. We do not like inertia. We want to, just like in World of Warcraft, you just tap W and your character starts moving immediately. You jump, you spin. You want to be able to spin the character very quickly. You want to be able to move and jump at the same time, which you can do in this game, but like, it's not nearly as smooth as WoW, and it doesn't, there's like the inertia is blocking a lot of that smoothness early on in the combat. So it does feel a little bit slow and clunky early on. When you start to move, there's like kind of a small delay between when you actually press space and when the jump actually happens. There is a double jump in the game, but again, it's nowhere near as smooth as something like, I'm going to compare it to World of Warcraft Classic, where you tap space twice and boom, boom, your character's already in the air before you've even released the space bar. And that's just that's what you want to see in a game. And I hope that they fix that closer to launch. But as for the combat itself, once you've already engaged an enemy, you've kind of gotten past that initial inertia, it's actually a lot of fun. You also have like health potions in this game are very different than you might find in several other MMOs. It's a lot more like WoW, where you can only pop one health potion every minute. Okay, so like, and in order to pop it, you have to step away from combat, just like Dark Souls, and you have to like pop it like a flask. You're not going to be able to pop it right next to the boss. You'll just get turboed. So yeah, just something to bear in mind. Really, really cool and intense combat. I have nothing but good things really to say about it. It's certainly on par with what I think most adventurers are kind of looking for. It is easy enough. It is approachable enough that I think players will like it, and they will feel familiar with it because of, if you're familiar with Dark Souls or even other action combat MMOs, it will be familiar in that regard, but it won't be too hard. Like Black Desert, for example, has a very difficult to approach combat system that almost has too much depth and is scary for people to kind of get into initially. So no worries really there. There are not key inputs, like you're not pressing Shift F into Shift E into SF. No, you are pressing 1, 2, 3, 4, and then swapping weapons, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 again on the other weapons. So you are going to have these things bound to your quick slots, and you're going to be using them based on your keyboard. But again, you're going to be dodging like you are in Dark Souls, constantly swapping weapons back and forth. I did not really feel, initially I was a little discouraged that there weren't combos like we see in BDO, but I'll be honest with you, it's better. It makes it more approachable. And again, the combat is dynamic enough that you really don't feel the difference almost at all. You can still get combos off, and it feels very satisfying. Okay, so let's talk about, again, I already touched on this a little bit, the difficulty level of the world. You are going to find things that are extremely hard to kill. There's these big bosses just laying around, even in the starting zones of the world, that you're just gonna, and there's also just like normal mobs will just kill you if you aren't gaming. You need to be on your guard at all points in time. This is a scary environment, and these void are kind of like the aliens from Alien versus Predator, right? Or from the Alien franchise. They are not messing around. These things do a lot of damage. I fought a boss that is part of the main story that you fight at level 6. The dude two-shot me, and to be clear, you can beat that boss. There are two different diverging storylines. You get rewarded for killing him. You don't have to necessarily, but you do get rewarded for killing him. So me being the classic, like, look, I've not played all like Dark Souls 2. I don't go that far back, but I did play Elden Ring, and I fought Tree Sentinel for 9 hours. God is my witness, and then two-shot Margot. Okay, so like, because fighting Tree Sentinel made me a god of playing the game. It was my first experience with Dark Souls, and then I was much better at fighting in the combat. In the rest of the game, I basically blew through a lot of the other bosses in the game because I was much better at that point. It's a lot like that in this game. I left that boss, went and did a bunch of gathering, crafted a bunch of new gear, came back to it, and then was able to beat it, and it still killed me once. even when I was almost twice the level and had 2 times the gear score that I had the previous time upon meeting him in the main story. So the main story is going to be challenging. The open world is going to be challenging, but don't fear. You can actually level up on basically anything in the world. You can go out and kill mobs. You can gather, you can mine, you can cook, you can do alchemy, processing, crafting, anything that you want, and it will level you up at a solid pace. This isn't like other sandbox MMOs, and again, I will compare it to Black Desert in this case, where you do get EXP for gathering, but it's not very much. No. I leveled up like 4 times just by gathering on logs. Okay, this is how this game works. It wants you, it actively encourages you to not just follow the main story, to not just be that cookie cutter MMO player. It wants you to go out and explore the systems of the game, and it will reward you for doing this. So the difficulty of the world is high, but don't feel like you have to get bogged down doing one thing, whether it be the main story or you get discouraged by killing a mob or a boss in the open world. You can always go off and do something else, level up, get more power, craft more gear, come back to it, and fight again. Either way, I actually find the difficulty of the world very engaging in my opinion. Now let's talk a little bit about open world discovery, Easter eggs of the game. And this is what captivated me in the other MMOs that I played, whether it be World of Warcraft or Black Desert or even Guild Wars 2, the vastness of the world, how much there was to do in it, and how encouraged you were to go explore in it. A bad example, a bad MMO that does this is Throne and Liberty. Throne and Liberty does not encourage you to go discover aspects of the world, and certainly does not reward you enough for exploring those aspects of the world. An MMO that does this very well is Guild Wars 2. In Guild Wars 2, you're constantly encouraged to go discover new areas, try and participate in dynamic questing and events and various things, and you're always encouraged to try to go explore because the game rewards you for exploring. Chrono Odyssey is the pinnacle of this. If you are somebody that loves discovering the world, or you are a Legend of Zelda player and your entire purpose in life was to go around finding all the heart pieces or various aspects of those, this game is going to be, you're going to love this game. This is a perfect game for you, mainly because every single time I went out into the world, I was rewarded, whether I found an alchemy crate or a random chest somewhere, which honestly ended up being a mimic. Screw me. There are mimics in the world that will punish you a little bit, but you know what? You do get rewarded if you end up killing it, which is pretty cool. But you also get like extra bonus points to your class's skills and chronotector abilities, just for discovering things in the open world. I can't tell you how many times I just walked into something, stumbled on it. It's like, hey, what's this? Oh my gosh, I got another chronotector thing. Or hey, this is a new dungeon, like a secret hidden dungeon that I can do. And then you get rewarded with some really cool loot and like best in slot gear at the end of it, at least for the closed beta anyway. And it was just so cool. Everywhere I went, I was like, what's that over there? I just found myself, guys, I was just trying to do the main story. Couldn't get it done. Could not get it done. Like there was too much going on in the world, and by the end of the 16 to 20 hours that I was able to play it, I think they gave us access for only 2 days, guys, so I got to play it for 16 to 20 hours or so of overall gameplay, and I just could not put it down for the time that I was able to play it. It was almost all in one session. I just couldn't put it down, and I was constantly exploring, so you will always feel that sense of discovery in the world constantly. The final thing I want to say is whenever you're gathering on something, even in a town, there's like these sacks and various things that you can go around and interact with various things, and it will just give you consumables that are actually super good in PvP, super good in PvE, that will help you kill bosses and stuff. So like if you're somebody that like loves to have that niche knowledge of that one thing, it's like, oh yeah, I can get that. Like in World of Warcraft, we see this all the time, where it's like, oh yeah, I can totally go to that one area of the world and kill those mobs for like, 3 hours to get this one consumable that I can then use later on in Nax so that I can do the raid. Like it's crazy. Okay, it's just like that, and I think that World of Warcraft players will like that very much. Okay, so now let's talk about life skilling. I did gathering, I did mining, I did butchering, I did logging, hoe gathering, cooking, alchemy, processing, crafting, all of it. Okay, it does not, and now what life skills does the game not have? It does not have boat content that I am aware of. Big Sag right there. I love boat content, and there was no boat content that I could tell in the game. This doesn't mean that it's not going to be added at a later date, but no real reason to explore the ocean or the water or anything like that, which is sad, but they could add that at a later date. That means no bartering, As far as I'm aware, there's no trading. There's no horse training as far as I'm aware either. You just kind of there's a random quest in the world, like a side quest at a random place in the world that you have to do in order to unlock your first mount, and then you just have a mount. And that's really cool, and I recommend doing that. I'll have a YouTube short for it so that you guys can find it very quickly in the open beta in about a week or two. But as far as the life skilling goes altogether, these are some of the best systems I've ever experienced in an MMO, guys. And again, I would say that New World, they're very similar to New World, but like upgraded. So if you're a New World player looking at this, or you liked New World, it's like New World, but like with much better combat and more extensive gathering opportunities. But the crafting, the alchemy, the cooking, the processing, all of that is very reminiscent of the New World systems, just a little bit expanded on overall. Now, you will always want to be increasing your life skilling. If you're a RuneScape player, you're going to love this game. It is a grind. You're out there, and to be clear, I'm a biologist, guys, and this game is very biologically correct overall. If you're looking for flax, you're going to be able to find it in a place that flax normally grows. Like, if you're looking for flax, you're going to be able to find it in a place that flax normally grows. Now, flax typically grows in temperate environments. It doesn't want too much water. Sugarcane, for example, though, wants a lot of water. You're going to find that a little bit closer to riverbeds and things like this. So you can biologically be able to kind of naturally ascertain where these things are going to be. But there's also silver and gold and platinum that you're going to have to run around and try to find, and resources you've never heard of before, like arc. And fire trees and things like this that you're going to be running around constantly trying to look for. And every time you find one of them, it is a little nugget. It is a lot of fun leveling up your life skills because you use all of these things. I used logging, hoe gathering, mining, and butchering, all of it, in order to craft like 2 or 3 pieces of gear. I needed everything. So I found myself going to the crafting menu being like, how do I find that? Oh, well, that would be on that plant. So I guess we're just going to go to this area of the world. Oh, there it is right there. Let's go. And then we would go out and we would gather that resource for a while, and then it helped me craft better gear. And this was a lot of fun. But again, this kind of relates to, this is almost a one-to-one correlation with New World and how it's chosen to do its life skills, which is good because that is one thing that New World was very good at, its life skills, where it's kind of just expanded on what New World already had, which is very good. Now let's talk about the PvE content of the game. Now keep in mind, this was the closed beta, so this does not include necessarily everything that's going to be included when the game actually releases, but it was very polished to me. There were not as many, like, there were bugs and things like this, but overall the game was very playable and I could invest into it. So there's a bounty system where you can pick up a bounty in a town to try to find a very specific mob that is named like an elite. If this was World of Warcraft Classic, these would be elite quests. Okay, these are basically elite quests. You're going to have to go out in the world, and to be clear, these should be very doable while you're in a party. I did not personally get to try doing these while I was in a party because there were only like 30 people with access to the beta. But I know that some of the other creators were walking around at least trying to help each other with these things, and then the open world bosses as well, which again, you can try to slay together. You can work together in small groups to try to kill the open world bosses. I'm not sure if there's a limit on loot and things like this when it comes to the open world bosses that you will walk into, but I do know that you can kill those open world bosses solo because I did it once about 10 minutes before the server went down. I went back to the boss that had farmed me the entire time in my closed beta. I was like, screw this. I had spent the whole time crafting, clearing dungeons, progressing my character, pushing really hard for 16 hours or so, only to come back to this boss and barely clear him right before the servers went down, which felt really good. And I did that solo. So anything that you can do in a group, for the most part, you can also do solo. But you can, again, most of the group PvE content in this game is meant to be done either solo or in a small group of players, 5 to 6 players at most. Now, I don't know if that plan is to change in the future, but certainly what I saw was dungeons that can be entered with 1 to 3 people, bounties that can be done with, again, 1 to 3 people, and the open world bosses that you're going to look at, maybe 1 to 5 people might be able to hit those if you're low level in that area. Now, the bounties were a lot of fun and actually very difficult sometimes to find the bounty target. Like I found myself wandering around for half an hour at a time just looking for a bounty target in this small area. It's marked on the map where like the general area of this bounty target is, and then you have to like solve a puzzle sometimes and like uncover where they actually are in order to get to them. That was difficult and made the bounty actually pretty engaging and fun to do. These gave gold and a lot of exp for doing them, and again sometimes, and then you can use that gold to help you craft better gear and repair your old gear and whatnot as well. Yeah, so the dungeons give you more access to your chronotector abilities and things like this, and then there's open world bosses that you're going to find as well that are just like hidden, and then there's hidden dungeons and whatnot in the world. And all of this PvE content always felt very fun and rewarding, mainly because I stumbled upon most of this stuff by just wandering around in the world and gathering. I would just I would just take the plunge. I just kind of jumped down, and I'm fairly certain I'm the only person that attempted to do this boss in this closed beta, because I'm probably one of the only ones that found it. I just jumped into the giant abyss on a whim, expecting it to kill me, and it ended up being like a hidden dungeon. That was cool. So discovering that dungeon was really cool, and that was most of my experience with the open world PvE content. There's also trials in the game as well, and these trials are something where you can pay some gold to try to attempt the trial, and you have a choice between 3 different doors every time, and there's 3 different trials. Now, I did every single door of every single trial. I'm not going to spoil it all for you here, but I can tell you they are all extremely unique attempts. They are all extremely unique puzzles that you need to solve. Not every puzzle has one way that you can solve it, a lot like Legend of Zelda. In Legend of Zelda, you see a lot of, especially with a lot of the modern Legend of Zelda games, that what people like so much about them is that there's multiple different ways that you can approach the various puzzles of the game. And it's very much like this in Chrono Odyssey as well. In the PvE content of Chrono Odyssey, you don't just have to brute force your way through everything. You don't necessarily have to kill the boss every time. And there's certainly a lot of different ways that you could go about it if you are a clever adventurer. So really cool, especially if you uncover extra abilities in later questing. You can come back and try to approach something from a completely different perspective that no one's tried before. So again, the PvE content of the game was constantly engaging. I never found myself wanting for any sort of more PvE content at the time. And to be clear, they did kind of gate us to a relatively small aspect of the map, and I felt like even at the end of the 16 hours that I was able to get played in this closed beta, I was not able to explore everything that the map had to offer. Like there was still always more for me to be able to do basically around the world. I did get to explore each of the systems at least somewhat, but there was just always going to be more Easter eggs, more things to discover, more areas to explore, etc., more bosses to uncover as well and kill. Like that, there was just always more to do for PvE. So not much but good things to say, other than that the PvE content is challenging, guys. Just bear in mind, this is not for the faint of heart. And so it's going to encourage you to group up with other people and try it. One final note on the dungeons. Some of the dungeons, like the hidden dungeons in the open world, are solo. And again, those are like the hidden ones. And then some of them are party dungeons that you will find out in the world. So there are different types of dungeons. And I don't think the trials are able to be done in a party either. You must do those solos as well. Now let's talk about PvP content. Guys, they had most of the PvP content disabled, so they didn't have a lot of the small scale stuff that they were had been kind of teasing with us in the game, but they did have the open world PvP content enabled. So I can talk about a little bit how that system works. A lot like New World, this system requires you to flag for PvP mode in town. Now, this is a closed beta, so they didn't have any rewards for flagging for PvP in town, but they did mention that they're looking at giving some very steep rewards potentially for flagging for PvP or being PvP enabled at all points in time. But if you're PvE enabled, as far as I'm aware, you cannot be PvP'd in the game. But if you have PvP on, you must flag for PvP in a town. And if you have PvP on, there is no punishment for killing you in PvP. And there's no punishment for killing other players in PvP. I was flagged for PvP most of the time because there was only like 40 people walking around in the world at any given point in time. And there were times where people came to try to kill me, which was pretty fun because I slaughtered them every time. It was a lot of fun. And again, the combat feels really engaging. It's not like New World where somebody could just run away from you the whole time. There are gap closing abilities. I can pull people, especially as a berserker. I felt I could pull people in. They couldn't just necessarily kite me the entire time, although that is what a ranger is going to try to do to you if you're a berserker. But if you're solid, you can use the terrain to your advantage. You can try to use your movement speed buffs and your self buffs, and then again pulls and various CC abilities to your advantage to try to engage in open world PvP, which has been a lot of fun. I can absolutely see this. As far as the guild stuff goes, it was very primitive, so I didn't see any way to declare war on another guild. But again, they said that they had deliberately disabled a lot of that content because, well, there's just not enough people to do GVGs in a closed beta session like this. So I'm hoping that when the game actually does come out, you absolutely should have, like this, it's all set up in a way that you should have war versus war decks against various guilds in the game, and then you should be rewarded for being able to kill other adventurers. But if you don't want to participate in PvP, you should be able to just turn on the PvE mode and kind of avoid it altogether. Now, I was also told that they're trying to step away from a massively large-scale PvP. So if you're a Throne and Liberty fan, I've got some bad news for you. It was very unlikely that you will see massive massive PvP aside from big open world GVGs, which are very possible. I think that the developers are trying to keep it under about 40 players in a given match. Now, there are 100 members allowed per guild, which is pretty large overall, but I think that the game can absolutely handle it. That does not mean that we're not going to see 25 to 40 man content in PvP. They have not confirmed anything like that, but they have certainly alluded to content like that being involved in the game, and then GVG content being a large part of their open world PvP experience as well. And I certainly, again, when I engaged in the PvP, it did not feel clunky. It didn't feel helpless as a melee character. It felt like I could actually engage and fight somebody, even though, again, both of us were relatively new to PvP in Chrono Odyssey. We were all using our abilities and trying to engage to the best of our ability. And I'm very excited for it because the combat is some very top grade stuff when it comes to MMOs overall. All right, so that's like the TLDR of the various systems of the game. Of course, it will be timestamped. Guys, remember to like and subscribe on the video. It does help tremendously in the algorithm to go ahead and like the video for me, and then you can subscribe because I'm going to be going into each of these systems in more depth live on my Twitch channel. If you are watching this on YouTube, there's a good chance that I'm already live talking about the game, showing my gameplay from the game. Or if you're watching this in the future, these videos are already out and you can see these on my channel. So we're going to be making a lot of Chrono Odyssey content. Guys, my thoughts on the game. This is the next big MMO. This is the game a lot of people have been waiting for. The graphics look absolutely stellar. The main storyline is gripping. The NPCs could use a little work. Like I said, there's tidbits here and there where the game can absolutely improve on. But guys, I mean it when I say, if you're a life skiller, you're going to love this game. If you love the Dark Souls franchise, you're going to love this game. If you love PvE content and MMOs in general, you are going to love this game. This is your next big game that you will be investing into, and you're going to have a lot of fun with. I know, because if you watch my content and you like any of the games that I like so far, you're going to love this, guys. It's going to be really good. It's going to be really good. I'm going to be talking all about it on my Twitch channel. I give the game an absolutely stellar rating. I'm going to be making a crazy amount of content for it. I cannot wait to play more of it. I was constantly hungry for more when I got like the 36 or 48 hours of access that they gave us here, and I just couldn't get enough. And I know that you guys won't be able to get enough either. So make sure you guys sign up for the closed beta. Again, this is not a sponsored video. This is not paid at all. I am just giving my honest thoughts about the game. But yeah, guys, remember to like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you in the next video. I'm very excited for Chrono Odyssey.